Welcome to Gen A Pulse, your daily tech update. If you're involved in technology today, you know that a year feels less like 12 months and more like a decade. The speed of innovation is just staggering, and nothing illustrates this better than our topic today, Agentic AI.
Agentic AI really is the next major frontier. It promises, autonomous operation and intelligent execution, basically allowing systems to make decisions and take actions all on their own.
And the momentum is clearly there?
Oh, it's undeniable. Gartner predicts a massive shift. They're estimating that 15% of day-to-day work decisions will be made by agents autonomously by 2028.
That sounds like we're on the verge of turning the enterprise, well, fully autonomous. But here's the thing. Here's the core tension we found in the sources. There's a huge reality gap, a gap between the promise and what's actually in production.
Mm.
Deloitte's research notes that while 38% of organizations are piloting these solutions, only a mere 11% are actively using them in production.
Only 11%.
And 42%, so nearly half, are still just figuring out their strategy.
And that gap is critical. Our mission on Gen A Pulse today is to figure out why. Why are so many of these pilots hitting a wall? And more importantly, what are the leading organizations, the ones actually succeeding? What are they doing differently?
Right.
They're fundamentally restructuring their entire operation around what they're calling a silicon-based workforce.
Okay, so let's unpack that. If the technology, the LLMs, if that's available, what's the fundamental error companies are making that's keeping them stuck?
The core problem is, well, it's organizational and strategic. It's not strictly a technical problem.
Meaning?
Enterprises are making the mistake of trying to layer agents onto their existing workflows, processes that were designed by and for human workers.
With human constraints.
Exactly. They're trying to automate what they currently do without rethinking how the work should be done in this new agent-native world.
That brings to mind that famous Henry Ford quote. It seems so perfect for this.
Which one?
Many people are busy trying to find better ways of doing things that should not have to be done at all.
Yes.
There is no progress in merely finding a better way to do a useless thing. You're saying we're automating the useless.
Precisely. You find yourself spending enormous resources on this complex tech just to optimize a process that really should have been eliminated or redesigned from scratch.
And that leads to a lack of ROI. Or worse.
Much worse sometimes. And the sources point out a couple of hitting failures that come from this.
Okay, what are they?
The first is something we need to be alert to. It's called agent washing.
Agent washing.
Yeah, it's where vendors just rebrand simpler, older automation like RPA and call it a sophisticated agent. It's just a marketing veneer.
I can see how that would lead to a lot of disappointment. You're expecting complex reasoning and you get a simple script.
Exactly. And the second one is even more damaging internally. It's what the sources are calling work slop.
Work slop.
It's when a poorly designed agent actually adds work to a process. It makes things less efficient.
How does that happen?
Well, if an agent is constantly flagging things for human review or its output needs tons of cleanup because it wasn't integrated right, you haven't automated anything.
You've just created digital clutter.
And increased the burden on your human workers.
Okay, so that covers the strategic failures. But let's get into the plumbing. Even if a company gets the strategy right, the sources cite three major technical infrastructure obstacles.
Right. These are the things blocking that 11% from becoming 50%.
So what's the first hurdle?
Legacy system integration. It's a huge one. Traditional enterprise systems were just not designed for the kind of instantaneous, autonomous interactions that agents need.
But too slow, too clunky.
They rely on conventional APIs, and that creates bottlenecks. If an agent needs to check inventory, verify a user, and kick off a payment, it's hitting multiple, often fragile, old endpoints.
And the cost of getting this wrong is huge. Gartner predicts that over 40% of agentic AI projects will fail by 2027, specifically because of this.
Because legacy systems lack three key things: real-time execution, modular architecture, and secure identity management.
Okay, so legacy systems are obstacle one. What's number two?
Data architecture constraints. Current enterprise data is built around, traditional data warehouses and ETL processes.
And for listeners who aren't data engineers, ETL is extract, transform, load, that whole cumbersome process of moving data around.
A very cumbersome process, and it's completely incompatible with autonomous agents.
Why?
Because agents need context to reason across the whole business. They can't wait for some nightly batch process to run.
The data's not available when they need it.
Or it's not searchable. Nearly half of organizations, 48%, cite poor searchability of their data. 47% say reusability is a major challenge. The data is there somewhere, but it's siloed or locked away.
So the implication is that the true cost of agentic AI isn't the model itself. It's the massive amount of data prep and knowledge management you have to do first.
Exactly. The paradigm has to shift. You have to move from traditional data pipelines to something more like enterprise search and indexing.
Built on knowledge graphs.
Right. It's like building a Google for your own company's internal knowledge. It makes all that information discoverable without all the costly ETL work.
That is a fundamentally different way of thinking about enterprise data. Okay, what's the third and final infrastructure obstacle?
It's the lack of oversight. So governance and control frameworks.
Meaning we don't know how to manage them?
Pretty much. Traditional IT governance is just not equipped to handle systems that make independent decisions and take actions.
If an agent rejects an insurance claim, you need to know why.
You need to know why, what it did, and whose authority it acted under. You need an auditable trail. Without that, you just can't scale these systems, especially in regulated industries.
So let's pivot from the pitfalls to the path forward. The organizations that are winning, they aren't just doing pilots, they're implementing systematic, enterprise-wide approaches.
They're moving toward what we're calling agent-native processes.
Which means radical process redesign.
From end to end, they're leveraging the agent's unique strengths. Like Brent Collins from Intel said, the goal is not to simply pave the cow path.
Right.
The goal is to reimagine how agents can work together to optimize the business in ways humans never could.
Because agents operate continuously, 24/7. That changes everything. Let's look at the HPE example.
Right. HPE's CFO team created an agent they called Alfred
Alfred.
to handle internal operational performance reviews, a task that was always full of manual data pulling and analysis. But the success isn't just that they built an agent, it's how they built it.
It's not one big monolithic thing.
No, Alfred is a front-end UI that works with 4 separate specialized agents underneath.
So they broke the task down. One for queries, one for SQL analysis, one for building charts.
And one for translating it all into reports. It's a perfect example of true multi-agent orchestration, a system of specialized microservices.
Another great case study is Toyota, right? Bridging that legacy gap.
Yes. They use an agentic tool to give dealers real-time visibility into a vehicle's estimated time of arrival, the ETA.
Why is that such a big deal?
Because that process used to involve someone navigating between 50 to 100 different green screens on a mainframe
Wow.
and tons of manual labor. The agent now delivers that info instantly. No one has to touch the mainframe. They've basically leapfrogged decades of legacy tech.
And they're not stopping there.
No. The future plan is to have the agents identify shipment delays on their own and then draft the communications to solve the problem.
So moving from just a data retriever to an active problem solver, that's where the real impact is.
And supporting all this success is a really strict discipline around quantification.
ROI.
ROI. John Rose at Dell Technologies is adamant about this. He says AI is a process improvement technology.
Simple as that.
So if you don't have solid quantifiable processes, if you don't know the cost, time, and quality metrics of what you're doing now, you shouldn't even start.
No more science projects. Dell is making sure the finance team has skin in the game.
Absolutely. They require a material ROI that's signed off not just by the business unit, but by their finance partner.
That's serious.
And they created a centralized architectural review board to approve all AI investments. This stops different groups from building their own redundant, inefficient solutions.
So this kind of commitment, financial and architectural, to a silicon workforce, it forces a huge question. If agents are now measurable assets, how does the definition of a human worker change? Where does the carbon-based workforce fit in?
This is probably the most profound shift of all. Humans are moving away from routine tasks and focusing on two main areas.
Okay.
First is compliance and governance, so validation, oversight, setting the guardrails for the agents.
And the second.
Growth and innovation, identifying new opportunities that only emerge because of what the agents can do.
We're seeing that hybrid approach in practice, like at Map-Free Insurance.
Right, they use agents for routine, high-volume stuff like initial damage assessments, but a person is deliberately kept in the loop for sensitive things like talking to the customer.
It's a hybrid by design approach.
And this requires change at the very top. Look at Moderna. They created a chief people and digital technology officer role.
Merging HR and tech.
Exactly. Tracy Franklin, who has that role, says they need to shift their whole focus to just work planning, and it doesn't matter if the labor is human or technology.
That's a fundamental reimagining of HR. If we accept this idea of a silicon-based workforce, we need HR for agents.
A whole new management framework,
Right.
and it's entirely digital.
So what does that look like? Let's start with onboarding.
It's a two-pronged thing. You have to train the agent on your enterprise data, sure, but you also have to train the human supervisor on how to manage, monitor, and even trust that agent.
And performance management. You can't give an agent an annual review.
No. Agents operate at such a huge scale, you need digital identity systems, cryptographic receipts for every transaction, and immutable logs for every single action.
So you can prove what it did and why.
And under whose authority. And the data from those logs will be so massive. You might even need other agents, meta-agents, just to manage the performance of their digital colleagues.
So agents reviewing other agents. What about long-term management?
That's lifecycle management. Agents need ongoing training, they need to be redeployed to new workflows, and yes, they even need a retirement plan when their job is automated away.
And some companies are even naming them.
They are, giving them individual names and IDs to track their productivity, just like a human employee.
And with all these agents making autonomous decisions, security has to completely shift.
It has to. The sources are clear. You need a zero-trust architecture.
Meaning?
Ephemeral authentication. Agents have to continuously verify and authorize every single action they take.
The crucial insight here being
That in the next few years, non-human identities, the agents, will significantly outnumber human users in most organizations. That forces a complete overhaul of your entire identity and access management strategy.
this all sounds like a massively complex choreography. How do all these specialized agents actually talk to each other to automate a whole workflow?
That's where you need the architectural foundation of multi-agent orchestration. The market is shifting away from one giant LLM doing everything.
To deploying lots of smaller, specialized agents that work together.
Exactly. And to make that work, you need collaboration protocols.
So what are the key protocols that leaders should be watching?
There are a few emerging. Anthropic developed the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, to standardize how AIs connect to data and tools.
Okay.
Google has the Agent-to-Agent Protocol, A2A, for direct communication. And there's an open protocol, ACP, the Agent Communication Protocol, which lets agents talk via simple, RESTful API.
So these protocols are basically the shared language that lets your sales agent built on platform X talk to your inventory agent built on platform Y.
Precisely. They enable that cooperation, which brings us to the financial reality.
The cost?
The cost. Because these agents are always on, always running queries, they can trigger unpredictable resource use. This is where specialized FinOps frameworks become absolutely critical.
And when you say FinOps, how is this different from regular cloud cost management?
It's much more granular and real-time. FinOps for AI is about managing token consumption and inference costs specifically. You need real-time monitoring and tagging to track AI spending before it balloons.
Because an agent could rack up tens of thousands of dollars in costs over a single weekend.
Easily.
Before we wrap up this look at Gen A Pulse, let's touch on two major trends shaping the future. First, compute power. What's happening there?
The focus is shifting. It's moving from just scaling the models to scaling efficiency. Hardware efficiency is the new scaling strategy.
Because we can't get enough GPUs.
The supply chain can't keep up. So while GPUs are still essential, you should be looking for things like ASIC-based accelerators, chiplet designs, maybe even a new class of chips designed just for agentic workloads.
So optimizing the hardware for the job. What about the models themselves?
Open source is going to drive diversification. The market is moving away from the idea that one giant model can do everything.
I see.
Enterprises are getting better results with smaller domain-specific reasoning systems, models tuned just for legal or just for healthcare, They're more efficient and more accurate for those narrow jobs.
And finally, what's the next true frontier? Beyond just generative text.
Physical AI. The industry is hitting diminishing returns just scaling up LLMs. The next big wave of innovation will be moving AI off the screen and into the real world.
Robotics.
Robotics and physical AI. Systems that can sense, act, and learn in physical environments, connecting that agent decision-making directly to tangible outcomes.
This whole discussion just confirms it. The transition to agentic AI is a fundamental organizational transformation, not just a tech upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Companies have to stop asking if they should use agents and start asking who should manage them, how to pay for them, and if they'll eventually take over entire operational areas.
And I'll leave you with one final provocative thought, building on a caution from Ethan Mollick. True agents are already here. You can build economically valuable agents right now with today's technology. If you are waiting for the technology to mature, you're already in trouble.
So the differentiator isn't the model.
The differentiator is not waiting for a better AI. It is figuring out how to stop automating processes designed for 1980s human labor and start designing processes for a 2025 silicon workforce.
Sound advice. Thank you for diving into the sources with us on Gen A Pulse. We'll see you next time.